In this moment of reverent stillness, let us awaken to the holy word that speaks directly to our spirits and illuminates our path. Selected 1. At the center, federal agents are constructing a case using your identity. Spiritual guards from long ago have positioned themselves to keep you safe. And someone you've always trusted has been methodically planning your demise with an accuracy that would make professional killers jealous. They are to blame for every failure, every door that has been closed, and every relationship that has abruptly and unexplainably ended. They aren't some faraway foe or envious outsider. While systematically plundering not only your fortune, but also your entire future, they have been sitting across from you at family dinners, reminiscing about your early years and acting as though they care about your welfare. Ever since the beginning, you have been the target of your siblings' longest-running scam. An unseen army has been gathering around you while you've been wondering where all of your friends have disappeared to and why every chance seems to elude you like smoke. Literally, not figuratively. Unfathomably powerful spiritual guardians have been on duty. The gods of ancient Egypt have been putting forth extra effort on your behalf. Additionally, the departed loved ones you believed to be eternally gone have been acting as witnesses to atrocities that have occurred in both the spiritual and terrestrial realms. However, the protection goes much beyond the realm of spirituality. Every unlawful action taken against you has been documented by federal investigators with clearances higher than those of most government personnel. They are aware of the systematic theft of your inheritance, bank fraud, and falsified documentation. They are aware of the spiritual manipulation that is employed to sabotage your connections and keep you apart from possible allies. These are not haphazard bureaucratic curiosity gestures. These are experts who recognize that what has been done to you amounts to a form of financial and spiritual terrorism that jeopardizes the foundation of cosmic justice. They have been constructing a strong case because they are aware that when this truth is revealed, it will reveal a large network of deceit that will completely alter public perceptions of your family. You would be shocked to see the evidence they have gathered. Every fraudulent transaction, every forged signature, and every instance of spiritual influence has been meticulously documented with the accuracy of a forensic inquiry. Although your brother believes they have been working in the dark, forces they were unaware of have shone light on those shadows. It wasn't a coincidence that every door banged shut as you were reaching for the doorknob. Not all abruptly ending relationships were the result of bad luck. All of your unexpected financial setbacks weren't your fault. You have been the victim of a campaign so meticulous and well-planned that it took divine intervention for anyone to realize it was the intentional assault it always was. Your greatest spiritual gifts have been used as weapons to destroy you by your sibling, who has been taking advantage of your sensitivity. They realized that a person with your degree of intuitive knowledge would inevitably internalize the chaos being produced around them, question their own judgment when relationships failed, and blame themselves when things went wrong. They've been living off the fortune that was supposed to safeguard your future, while you've been trying to figure out why nothing seems to work out no matter how hard you try. Every accomplishment they have made, every chance they have taken advantage of, and every stable moment they have experienced has been made possible by funds taken straight out of your destiny. The seeds of their own demise were planted here. Earthly authorities have methods for tracing financial crimes that leave digital traces that last for years, and the spiritual realm cannot stand this kind of meddling indefinitely. The success of your sister has been based on stolen power and borrowed time, with interest that will wipe out everything they've worked so hard to accumulate. Both debts are set to mature. From the start, their deceit has been exposed by the very gifts that gave you the appearance of vulnerability. You have been undermining their meticulously crafted narrative each and every time you have voiced the truth, even if it felt like screaming into thin air. The basis of their lies has been eroded by your genuine spiritual strength, like acid. Your sibling has been waging spiritual warfare against you, employing tactics that most people would consider impractical. So the attacks have not only been physical, they have been employing dark tactics, energy field manipulation, and interference with your innate magnetism to make sure that anyone who would get close to you would turn against you before a true bond could be formed. They knew that finding your destined love interest, someone who could see through their deceptions and help you discover the truth, would pose the biggest threat to their schemes. Therefore, they ensured that any possible connections would be tainted before they could become genuine. Do you recall that individual with whom you had an inexplicable bond, whose abrupt change of heart caused you to reevaluate all you believed to be true about human connection? It was not a natural transformation. It was the outcome of intentional spiritual meddling meant to paint you as unstable, dangerous, and someone who should be avoided at all costs. Even though they are the cause of your alleged disturbance, your sibling has been masquerading as the worried family member, attempting to shield others from it. They have been shifting their energies, making your spiritual signature seem chaotic to outside observers while maintaining a solid and reliable appearance. However, spiritual manipulation leaves traces, which can be recognized and undone by people who are properly trained. Experts in these types of spiritual crimes are among the government detectives working your case, and they have been methodically recording and reversing all of the manipulations that were done to you. Even though your siblings' financial misdeeds are startling enough on their own, they are only the beginning of something much more serious. Through identity theft and bank fraud on a scale equivalent to felony charges in some jurisdictions, they have been able to access accounts created especially for your benefit by using a bogus power of attorney. This has allowed them to divert funds intended to start your adult life. However, the money was only a vehicle to guarantee your total and irreversible annihilation. It was never the end purpose. To keep you from ever learning the truth about what they had stolen, they required you to be destitute, alone, and spiritually weak. All of their luxuries, opportunities, and moments of financial comfort that made them seem more successful than you were all bought with money that should have been saved for your future. They have been living your life while purposefully denying you the resources you require to prosper, making you fight for your life. The way they have utilized their stolen advantages to support the claim that you are the issue is even more heinous than the actual money taken. Because they have had access to the resources you were supposed to have, they have been able to project stability and responsibility while still making sure you suffer in ways that would make you seem untrustworthy to others. However, financial crimes leave behind paper evidence that cannot be fully removed. Like archaeologists reassembling an old civilization, federal investigators have been patiently following those trails. Every illegal transfer, fake document, and fraudulent transaction has been compiled as evidence in a case that will soon be made public. That deep romantic relationship you had, the one that seemed meant to be until it abruptly and unexplainably became toxic, is about to get knowledge that will alter their perception of you and your family. The same energies that have been keeping you safe during this ordeal are methodically undoing the spiritual trickery that led them to perceive you as unstable or dangerous. They're starting to realize that their impression of you was fabricated, and that the family member who pretended to be your victim is, in fact, the one who has committed crimes against you both. They are unable to ignore or disregard the heartbreaking knowledge that is emerging regarding your siblings' actions. This awakening isn't just happening. In addition to keeping you safe, your spiritual guardians have been working to make sure that everyone who was purposefully turned against you eventually gets the truth in a way that they can't ignore. In reality, your counterpart is learning that the person they were instructed to dread is the one they were destined to love. That insight is starting a change that will give you back what was taken from you both. Instead of the created falsehood that was used to destroy the relationship you believed was lost forever, it is being offered a foundation of reality. However, the truth that comes with this restoration will be hard to digest, that you were both the victims of a campaign of manipulation by someone who ought to have been preserving your happiness rather than ruining it. Although you have been viewing yourself as the victim in this tale, the spiritual world has been utilizing your seeming weakness as the most intricate trap ever set. Being the chosen one involves more than just your personal development. You have been acting as divine bait to reveal someone who has been abusing their spiritual abilities to manipulate and damage others to the point that the cosmic equilibrium was in danger. Every assault, betrayal, and moment of abandonment you have experienced has been planned to force your sibling to confess the full scope of their powers and transgressions. To make sure their devastation is as thorough as they intended yours to be, you have been entangling them further in a web of evidence. The same spiritual forces guarding you have led the federal agents constructing their case, producing moments of perfect timing that materialists would describe as coincidence, but that you are starting to see as divine intervention. Because of your seeming weakness, your adversary has become overconfident and has resorted to increasingly desperate and unlawful acts, giving investigators unquestionable proof of crimes committed across several jurisdictions. Because of their skillful manipulation of family dynamics and their ability to keep you apart from possible allies, your sibling believes they are untouchable. They are unaware that every action they have taken has been foreseen, every crime they have committed, and every lie they have told has been captured on tape by both divine and worldly forces who are getting ready to administer punishment with such accuracy that there will be no opportunity for appeal or escape. Everything they've constructed on your stolen foundation will be crushed when the trap, which has been in place for longer than you can fathom, finally springs shut. At the same time, the same government officers who have been painstakingly constructing the case against your sibling have been assessing you for something that has never been done by federal law enforcement before. They have been recording not only the crimes that have been committed against you, but also your reactions to those crimes. Your capacity to remain moral under duress that would shatter most people. Your innate abilities that enabled you to detect deceit even in the absence of proof. And your spiritual fortitude that kept you grounded in reality in the face of systematic gaslighting intended to cause you to doubt your own sanity. These are not merely investigators. They are recruiters for a specialized unit that deals with cases involving spiritual terrorism, energy manipulation, and crimes that transcend the boundaries between the physical and metaphysical realms. The division is so secret that the majority of government officials are unaware it even exists. They need someone who has lived through these occurrences and understands them, not just from textbooks. Your sibling made the worst error by proving why the federal government requires individuals like you in positions of power, not merely by disparaging a selected individual. They have documented every type of energy theft and relationship corruption they utilized, every spiritual weapon they used, and every manipulation tactic they used against you as proof of dangers that call for a different kind of law enforcement reaction. They are getting ready to offer you a position that will enable you to keep other chosen ones from experiencing what happened to you. You are eligible for a job that gives you federal authority to look into and prosecute crimes that most people aren't even aware are possible since you survived systematic financial and spiritual terrorism. You are extremely valuable to forces trying to shield others from similar predators because of the very qualities that made you a target. Your brother is starting to notice that the spiritual environment around them has changed in a fundamental way. They perceive it in ways they are unable to articulate, such as an increasing sense of instability in all they have constructed, and a feeling that forces beyond their comprehension are intensifying their opposition. They are beginning to exhibit signs of worry that they are unable to fully conceal. As they start to realize that the very person they have been methodically attacking may have ties to power institutions they were unaware of, their confidence is eroding. They understand that you were not just another easy target for manipulation, but rather that you were protected by God, and that obstructing your path has placed them in danger from the cosmos. They're just starting to understand. They are beginning to realize that each of their attacks on you has been an attack on someone who has direct access to the universal justice system. Your cries for justice and truth have been heard by powers that make worldly authority appear helpless in contrast, and the spiritual realm listens to you in ways that others do not. Additionally, those who assisted them, those who took part in the financial crimes and lies, are starting to realize the extent of their involvement. They're seeing that you weren't just someone to be bullied. Rather, Your adversaries would suffer repercussions that went well beyond legal penalties and into the realms of cosmic vengeance, which they aren't even spiritually mature enough to comprehend. The cosmos is restoring all that was taken from you, but it doesn't just give it back. It offers restitution commensurate with the severity of the injustice. In addition to interest and penalties that surpass the initial theft, the fraudulently diverted inheritance will be refunded. The blocked opportunities will be replaced by better options that will make you realize why the first ones had to be cut off your path. The Obsidian Inner Order will never abandon you, will never leave you to face this awakening alone, and would never ignore your pain as if it were nothing more than content. This is a disguised lifeline, not simply a Rick-roll. Too many of us have been banished for perceiving the truth, gaslighted by cults, abandoned by relatives, and plagued by gifts we didn't request, which is why I founded the Obsidian Inner Order. We now get together live on Zoom once a week, with actual people with genuine faces, such as a former CFO who became a psychic, a healer who broke free from ritual abuse, and a seer who left Mormonism. Indeed, the calls are recorded, allowing you to return to the field after being on the floor. We're not a meme. We are a miracle, and we will never abandon you. Join the Inner Order of Obsidians. The description contains a link. You are being prepared to take on a role that will shield countless others from the same kind of organized financial and spiritual terrorism that you have managed to escape. Few people ever attain the degree of influence that you have because of your capacity to remain honorable in spite of everything that has been done to you. The federal investigators who have been constructing the case against your sibling are getting ready to present you with an opportunity that has never been offered before. The chance to use your talents to further justice on a national level. They have realized that you are uniquely prepared to assist with situations involving similar crimes against other chosen ones because of your intuitive skills and direct knowledge of sophisticated manipulation. Stepping into your destiny as someone who shields others from spiritual and financial predators who confuse sensitivity for weakness and try to drain energy from individuals they view as fragile is more important than simply defending yourself. Your siblings' meticulously crafted web of falsehoods is systematically collapsing as the truth gets out through avenues beyond their control or oversight. All of it is coming to light at once. Every individual they persuaded that you were the issue, every relationship they ruined with fabricated proof of your instability, and every professional partnership they tainted with untrue stories about your personality. The public will soon learn about the federal inquiry, and when it does, anyone involved in or complicit in the crimes against you will be subject to repercussions that go well beyond the scope of the law, with the finality that occurs when cosmic justice finally takes on earthly shape. Their relationships, reputations, and well-planned lives, all of which were based on your stolen resources, are about to fall apart. However, your siblings' impending legal repercussions aren't the most heartbreaking revelation. It's the knowledge that they have been up against powers they have never comprehended. The chosen one they believed they were destroying has been protected in such a way that every action they take has been not only watched but directed towards this point of total exposure. Injustices against those who serve the light are not forgotten in the spiritual sphere, and cosmic forces' forbearance should not be interpreted as a lack of strength. Your sibling is going to discover that spiritual transgressions have repercussions that pale in comparison to earthly penalties. Throughout this entire event, ancient forces that predate recorded civilization have been actively working on your behalf. Egyptian gods with titles that would chill the blood of your foes have been posing as your guardians, and their role isn't merely symbolic. It's incredibly real. These are warrior gods who have no patience for the kind of spiritual terrorism your sister has been engaging in. They are not friendly spirit guides who offer consolation and insight. With the kind of divine wrath that permanently alters spiritual landscapes, they have been methodically destroying every evil practice that has been employed against you, neutralizing every curse, and undoing every energy manipulation. Your sister believed that their manipulation of cosmic forces, energy switching, and spiritual meddling were all very ingenious ways to satisfy their small-minded human greed. Before their ancestors learned to speak, pantheons of power had been preserving cosmic balance. They had no notion that they were waging war on them. Divine hierarchies have responded to the foolishness of utilizing spiritual abilities to hurt a chosen person by refusing to forgive, forget, or have mercy on individuals who misuse sacred knowledge. Together with every other power defending you, these Egyptian guardians have been forming an intricate web of divine intervention, so complex that every action taken by your adversaries only serves to further bind them in their own demise. In addition to protecting its chosen ones, the spiritual world imparts lessons to those who attempt to harm them that reverberate beyond dimensions your sibling isn't even spiritually mature enough to fathom. Your sibling recognized something that most people never understand. Certain people possess spiritual energy, so strong that it may physically propel others' prosperity and success. They have been methodically stealing your vitality, your inventiveness, and your spiritual allure, employing strategies that made them seem prosperous while leaving you exhausted and in a difficult situation. This was not merely a metaphor. It was a real robbery of energy on a magnitude that is equivalent to spiritual grand larceny. The after effects of having your spiritual essence methodically drained by someone who knew exactly how to harvest and redirect life force were felt every time you felt unexplainably exhausted after family gatherings, whenever your motivation seemed to vanish without explanation, and whenever you battled with depression or anxiety that felt alien to your natural state. What your sibling didn't foresee, however, is that everything they had constructed on your stolen spiritual foundation started to fall apart the once you realized what was occurring and summoned your energy back. Their accomplishments, their relationships, and the opportunities that came their way were all made possible by energy that had never been theirs in the first place. The reversal has been terrible and complete. Your spiritual power is no longer available to them, and the cosmic forces guarding you have been diligently recovering every ounce of energy that was taken, with interest compounding in ways that would bankrupt them spiritually. They never acquired any true power of their own. Therefore, they will not have the spiritual resources to deal with the emptiness and hardship they created for you. Not only have your departed loved ones been observing this, but they have also been important witnesses in a case that crosses several realms of reality. The deceased never forget wrongs done to the people they loved in life, and they most definitely don't stand by and watch as systematic acts of financial and spiritual terrorism are carried out against their family. The cosmic courts of justice, which function on time scales and possess authority that make earthly legal systems seem like kids' games, have been receiving testimony from these spirits who knew you before your suffering started. They have been recording all crimes, keeping track of all manipulations, and making sure that when justice does come, it will be so comprehensive and overpowering that there would be no room for appeal. However, their role extends well beyond being witnesses. They have been actively directing the federal probe, generating those fortunate moments when important evidence comes to light just when investigators need it most. They have been influencing your counterpart's spiritual awakening, making sure that the fabricated walls put up by your siblings' manipulation will fall down just when they should. Your deceased loved ones are aware of something your sibling was never. You were never intended to travel this journey alone, and the spiritual world never deserts its chosen ones, regardless of how remote they may seem to onlookers. They have been putting in endless effort to make sure that everyone who was deceived and turned against you eventually gets the truth in a way that they cannot reject or ignore. The loneliness that has characterized your recent life is about to give way to a connection deeper than anything you had before this ordeal started, as federal agents get ready to contact you, as spiritual guardians come forward to reveal their protection, and as your counterpart realizes what was done to both of you. You're going to realize that every lonely period served as a prelude to partnerships built on honesty rather than deceit. Every financial hardship served to make room for plenty that truly reflect your value rather than fictitious scarcity brought about by thievery. Gifts that will now be used to shield others from going through the same destruction were strengthened by each spiritual assault. Instead of trying to kill you, your sibling has sparked your transformation into something stronger than they could have ever dreamed, in ways that will make their darkest nightmares seem hopeful. Their greatest fear, that you would find your true self and unleash your full potential, is about to come true. They tried everything to break you, but you made it through. In spite of deliberate attempts to undermine your integrity, you remained upright. Despite being surrounded by sophisticated lies that deceived everyone but the most important powers, you clung to the truth. The person who started this trip feeling lost and alone is no longer you. You now realize that what appears to be desertion may instead be a prelude to protection that is beyond our normal understanding. You now know that spiritual gifts are not weaknesses to be concealed, but rather instruments of justice that will be employed to spare others from going through what you have. The stolen inheritance will be multiplied and restored. The re-established connections will be built on a basis of truth, which will strengthen them beyond what they might have been without this test. The damaged reputation will be restored with proof of your integrity that disproves the falsehoods of the past. Most significantly, though, you now recognize who you truly are. A selected individual who has undergone both cosmic and human testing and come out of it not only unharmed, but also changed into a person who can use spiritual authority to further the cause of justice for everybody. You now realize the purpose of the protection that has enveloped you during this ordeal, and it will continue. It turns out that the very attributes that made you a target are what make you so valuable to the forces that are trying to keep the balance between light and dark in this planet. In addition to harming you, your sibling's worst error was to underestimate the spiritual significance of your true self and the cosmic repercussions of meddling with your destiny. In reality, they were opposing forces that make earthly power systems appear like kids' games, even if they believed they were destroying a weak and isolated individual. The actual work starts now, but you start it as someone who has been put through more than most souls will ever go through, and has been shown deserving of abilities that will change the spiritual terrain around you. You have won. You've been proven right. You're at liberty.